module engine. A very important engine. That's the engine that gets you to and from the moon, just so you know. And then the front part there, the silver piece, is the command module. The astronauts sit in here. 3 astronauts. Command module, service module. Command service module. Okay, that's real. The one we have on the front of the rocket is a mock-up. So I want you to see the real one first so you understand what I'm talking about. The rocket here is a 3-stage rocket. Each big part of the rocket was made by a different company. The bottom part, first stage, was made by the Boeing company. Middle part is the second stage made by North American Rockwell, and the third stage made by McDonnell Douglas. All the parts are made by different companies. The capsule made by North American Rockwell, the lunar lander made by the Grumman Corporation. Anyway, they all work and they all fit. The engines are made by Rocketdyne. The fuel that goes in the first stage here is refined kerosene and liquid oxygen. 500,000 gallons would be in the first stage. The whole round part of the rocket is all fuel tank. So the big round part here on the first stage would contain 500,000 gallons of fuel, kerosene and liquid oxygen. These engines generate 7.5 million pounds of thrust. That's the energy that you need to get the rocket off the ground. We measure it in thrust. You need more thrust than the weight of the rocket. The rocket weighs 6 million pounds. If you have 7.5 million pounds of thrust, it will come off the launch pad. Now that first stage burns out after 2.5 minutes. Everything we launch goes over the ocean to the east, always from here. And so after 2.5 minutes, the first stage, all the fuel's gone, the engine's shut down, and when that happens, the whole first stage disconnects from the rest of the rocket, and it falls and hits the ocean. I mean, it sinks to the bottom. We don't go get it. The whole rocket is expendable. So after 2.5 minutes, you're going to be 40 miles above Earth. You're going 5,000 miles an hour. But you got to go faster and higher. So let's go to the second stage right up here, okay?
Wow, it's a blast with sir, really?
This is the Utsana license for thrust 7 million. 6 million pounds. Use.
Well, sir, actually, the blast होता है
Second of it, 3 part.
3 part, right? Actually, blast होता है कति loss चलेगा क्या है sir?
Everybody on the free tour will be right here in between the first and the second stage. It is a free tour. Anybody can join the tour, okay? There it is. Now look back at the first stage. Look how big that is. And now look how big it is compared to the rest of the rocket. That is half the rocket right there. You drop that off, half of your rocket's gone. You keep climbing, you keep going, okay? The engine shut off at the back end of the first stage and falls in the ocean and sinks. 40 miles above the Earth, 5,000 miles an hour. Then the second stage kicks in. These are J2 engines. They're a little smaller than those big ones on the back of the first stage. The fuel that goes in the second stage is liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen, really cold stuff. 300,000 gallons of that fuel is in here. But it only burns for 6 minutes. The second stage, about 6 minutes, and all that fuel is gone. But after 6 minutes, you're going to be 100 miles above the Earth, and you're going 15,000 miles an hour. Then the second stage cuts off and it falls in the ocean. By the time it hits the ocean, you're halfway across the Atlantic. And it hits the ocean and sinks to the bottom, and they're still there. But you got to go faster and higher. Let's go to the third stage right up here. free tour. We're going to go right here between the second stage and the third stage. Okay, anybody can join the tour. Now look back at the first and second stages. You drop both of those off, you only have 1/3 of a rocket left now. That's all that's left. It keeps going. Okay? You drop that off. The second stage, 100 miles above the Earth, you're going 15,000 miles an hour, but you got to go faster and higher. You only have one engine on the third stage because you don't need any more than that to keep going. Okay? Now you turn that engine on and it's going to burn a little bit to get you a little higher and faster. You're going to end up at 115 miles above the Earth and your speed will be 17,500 miles an hour. That's 28,000 kilometers an hour, or 5 miles a second, 8 kilometers in 1 second. That's how fast you're going. That's orbital speed. You have to orbit Earth before you leave the Earth to go to the moon, okay? You got to do a lot of things, okay? That the first part of the journey is only getting into an orbit around the planet. When you're ready, you turn the third stage engine on after 2 orbits approximately, and then you increase your speed to get to escape velocity, which is the speed you need to break free from Earth. The gravity of Earth is holding you back. You get to a high enough speed, you can leave the Earth. The speed is 25,000 miles an hour. Thank you. 25,000 miles an hour, 40,000 kilometers. Okay, you hit that speed, you can make it to the moon, okay? But you don't go that fast all the way to the moon because you'll zoom past the moon. You don't want to do that. You want to slow down before you get to the moon so you can go into an orbit around the moon. It's important. It takes about 2 to 3 days to get to the moon. Okay, now you recognize that little thing there?
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The next presentation in the Lunar Theater will begin in 3 minutes. If you would like to join us, please proceed to the nose end of the Saturn V rocket. Thank you.
Okay, that's a lunar rover. See that one in the case? That's a real one, okay? We took 3 to the moon. They are still on the moon. That one there did not go to the moon. The one on the right over there is the trainer. We use that to train with on Earth because it's got real tires. You see it? This one here has metal tires. You see that? Those are piano wire tires. And that is what they look like, the ones that we took to the moon. To get those in the rocket, they have to be folded up. They fold up to a compact box, and they fit in the lunar lander. That's how you get them. Made by Boeing and General Motors, just so you know. Where's my Corvette guy? Is he still here? Okay, there you go. It's a GM vehicle. Okay? Not quite a Corvette, but it's a convertible. Anyway, it's a lunar lander. Okay. So now, this third stage does not fall in the ocean, okay? Once you turn that engine on and you're heading to the moon, then you get rid of the third stage and you aim it for the sun is what happens to the third stage, okay? All right, let's go up here. I'll tell you what happens next and we'll be done. Okay, free tour. We'll make this our final stop. We'll finish up here, but I got a few things to tell you. That is a real lunar lander sitting in there. See that? That's real. That is made by the Grumman Corporation in Bethpage, New York. You guys probably know where that is. Anyway, Long Island. But anyway, that is real. That's a real one. That's lunar lander number 9. It was made to go to the moon, but we did not use it. Okay? Anyway, there it is. That's exactly like the lunar lander that Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin used to come down and land on the moon. On the way to the moon, we get it out of its container. The container is that thing there, that cone-shaped piece. That's where the lunar lander goes. It's in there. It's folded up a little bit. Legs are tucked up. And then after you fire the third stage engine, you reach escape velocity. You're on your way to the moon. Then the panels on this vehicle, this part here called the spacecraft landing adapter, they open up. All those panels open up. and it exposes the lunar lander. The silver thing on top is the service module from that piece back there, okay? And the white piece on the front end is the capsule, okay? So command and service module, that's a mock-up. But on the way to the moon, they come out first, and then they make a U-turn, and on the top of the command module, the capsule, is a docking ring, and it docks on the top of the lunar lander. So it locks into it, and then you get rid of this thing here, and it goes off into space. You got a lunar lander attached to the top of the capsule.